So let's just get into it. Can you just give us an introduction of who you are, where are you from, what was your educational background and all that, and when did you come to the US, and what visa did you come on, for how long you were here, and so on.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Oyin. I am Nigerian. I have my MD from a Caribbean medical school. I finished that in 2021. Yeah. And then I started my master's in the US in 2022 January. So when I first came in the US, I came on a B1, B2 visa. Because the thing with Caribbean medical schools is you finish 2 years in the Caribbean and you come to the US to do your rotations with other US medical students in hospitals. And so technically, since your university is not in the US, you come on a B1, B2. So my very first visa was B1, B2. And I had that for 2 years to finish medical school. And then, 2021, 2020 was, when COVID was going on. And I applied for my master's in public health in a US university. And I got in January of 2022. And so I finished, US masters, they're 2-year programs. And so I decided that I wanted to finish on time. And so I was able to finish in 16 months and not 2 years. So instead of taking the summer, as you know, summer is usually a holiday, I took as much summer classes as I could during that time. And so I finished my master's in May of 2023, which is around when school graduates.
Okay. And then you applied for a PhD program?
Yeah, I applied for a PhD program in 2022, December, in hopes to get in August of 2023, just after I finished my master's. So I had a plan, and thankfully I was able to stick to that plan. And I got my F1 visa in 2022 for school. So I've been on F1 for less than 2 years.
Oh, wow. So when you came in for the B1 visa, you stayed on B1 as you were doing your master's program too?
No. I stayed on B1 just for clinical rotations. And then I left the country, got F1 on my passport, and came back in.
Okay. And while you were doing your master's, some of it was remote, or how was it?
No, it was in person in the university.
Oh, yeah, but you finished it in just 16 months, so that's how things go.
Yeah.
Wow,
So for international students, the minimum you have to take is 9 credits. So my first semester, I took 15 credits.
Okay. Oh,
yes.
wow. That's
in the summer semester, I took 9. In the fall of that year, I took 13 or 14. And then in my final semester again, I took 15. So
yeah, but you had done a rotation. So medical rotation is this must be easy compared to a medical rotation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So now that I just to reiterate, so you were you were in medical school when you came in, and
Yes,
then
I was.
you also got a master's in public health, and you were in a PhD program. So when you were applying for green card, at that time you were already a MD, you had a master's in public
health,
so
and I had just started my PhD because I applied this year, and I started my PhD when school resumed in August of 2023. Yeah, and I sent my application September.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So what motivated you to apply for a green card?
Okay, well, it's basically one thing, right? I heard about the EB2 National Interest Waiver, I think in 2020. In 2020, that was the very first time I heard about it. Like, wait, what is this? And I took it more seriously in 2022, January, February. And well, for when you're an international doctor, you need visa sponsorship. So you go on the J1 visa. The J1 visa is very restricting.
Yeah.
And now being in research, doing my master's, I would have gone on OPT and possibly H1B, all that stress. And
Yeah.
I thought if I could give this a chance where I don't have to be dependent on, employer sponsorship,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, we all want a stable and independent future in the US.
Yeah.
So I thought if I could give this a chance, I would. And that's just what I did. And thankfully, it worked out.
So in January 2022, that's when you seriously started thinking about applying for a green card. So
Yes.
how did you prepare? So after that, like, did you think about it? I mean, I'm sure you made a plan. So can you
Yeah. Yeah.
elaborate on
So
that?
I looked into like the criteria and
Mm.
I was like, wait, I have an advanced degree already. I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
And I decided, okay, that's one of my list. I'm
Mm.
currently in the US getting my master's. So I'm getting a US, education in the US. So I was already doing that. And I thought, okay, another main thing is research. So I reached out to various research groups, research organizations, and I collaborated with as many people that I could. And so I spent all of the time in 2020 getting my, normal school grades, making sure they were good, applying to internships and working on research. 2020 was a very long year, or
Yes.
2022 rather was a very long year for me. And
Mhm.
so by the end of 2022, I had 7 publications.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I had 7 publications at least, where I was first author in 3, I believe. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. You got 7 publications, like
From
all through from 2022.
yeah, I did.
Oh wow, you should teach me how to get so many publications. I would like so many publications in one year.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you got your publication, and I think that so you were focusing on getting as many publication
As
and really.
many publications as I could.
Mhm.
Yeah, as many publications as I could. And so I was able to do that. I
Okay.
think the thing is just especially for students, just get out of your comfort zone, email people. You will get a lot of rejection. I can promise you that. Yeah.
And anything else you did? So apart from like trying to do research, anything else?
No. So in 2022, I strictly focused on school and research.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after you finished your master's degree, like when were you confident that okay, now I'm ready to apply?
Okay. So in 2023, when I was graduating, so for international students too, you have to apply for OPT.
Yes, yes.
I did not do that
Oh,
because I had already gotten my admission to start my PhD.
yeah, yeah.
Right. I interviewed, I got job interviews.
Hmm.
I interviewed at a couple of places, but I decided to just pursue my PhD instead.
Hmm.
And I think that was when I made the decision that okay, I already have my publications, I have my advanced degree, and I have my master's from a US university. So I was like, okay, I need to start working on my petition.
Okay. So now that let's say around like, so what was the time when you actually decided, okay, I'm going to apply now?
Okay, it was in June. So I had graduated. School resumed in August. So I had the summer to relax, travel,
Yeah.
and I specifically remember I opened a Word document. Yeah,
Hmm.
I opened a Word document and I had a folder where I was just putting in stuff in that folder. I did not care what it was.
Hmm.
I just filled that folder with as much documentation as possible that I knew that I would possibly need for the application process.
Hmm.
Right. Because I did not want to get overwhelmed when I actually started the application. I just wanted to be able to go to a folder and say, okay, I have this, I have this, I have this, and pick it up from there.
So,
So I started writing my application July of 2023. Yeah.
mhm.
So that's when I started typing the petition, the actual petition. Yeah.
Okay.
Then I reached out to, I had 5 recommenders. So I reached out to them in May, sent a very short, precise email about the whole process. I included the link to the EB2-NIW application in the email saying, oh, I'm trying to apply for this. This is what it entails. And I would like for you to please write me a letter of recommendation. And I was willing to send as many drafts to them as possible, because you know how the recommendation letter should look a specific way. And knowing that they haven't done this before, I wanted the process to be easy on them too. And 4 of them agreed for me to send them draft. And so I worked on the draft and I sent it to all 4 of them. The other one, was confident in writing it himself. And so I let that be.
That's actually easier, if somebody else is willing to write, because
True.
because then the letters don't read like kind of same, right? Because I went
Yeah,
through
that was a struggle to make sure that the letters don't read similar to my petition, because I was writing the petition and I did not want the letters to read similar. So for my letters, I pretty much just wrote what I did with each of them. And since I did separate things with each of them, it was easier to write.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So will it be like right to say that in January 2022, that's when you started planning, and and that was the time, so you already at least knew the process. So like what were the criteria were and all that. You knew in January 2022, and then you worked on all these criteria for about a year and a half. And at the about a year and a half, you were like, okay, now I'm confident that I can do this. And then you start putting things on a Word document. You contacted your referees, which was, I think, so yeah. So and you gave them about a couple of months. Would that be right to send it back to you? The letter.
I think I got them in about 3 weeks. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think also because I wrote the draft to them, it was easier for them to just work on that and send it back. Also, most of my recommenders are professors. And in the summer, there's really not much going on. So they also had time to send it back to me on time. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So you timed it very, very well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now let's just talk about your own package. So you said that you started writing in like June. So how long did it take you to actually write the whole letter and complete it in the sense that it was ready to be sent out?
Okay, so I opened the Word document and I started writing the actual petition in July, last week of July. And I had because my petition was about 30 pages, 32 pages long, I believe. And I guess I've had practice from writing research last year. And so my writing skills had already improved tremendously. And so it took me maybe 3 weeks to have my first draft. Like, okay, this is a solid draft. And in and out, I would wake up one morning, remember something, quickly add it on, wake up tomorrow, remember to take off something. Because I was eating, dreaming, sleeping in that petition.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I had a draft in about 3 weeks, like my first draft.
Okay. And after your first draft, like, what did you do after that? Did you send it to someone, or how did you improve on it?
I pretty much, I sent it to my friends because it was hard to find someone that had applied themselves in my circle and gotten approved. In fact, to even find someone that had applied themselves was stressful in my circle. And so I sent it to my friends to edit, mostly for grammar. Yeah. And then I found your video, reached out to you on LinkedIn, and sent you that draft that I eventually sent you.
Okay. Yeah, I think the draft that you sent me was pretty good. So and then I think I gave some feedback.
Yes, you did.
So can you tell us after all the review that you got from your friends, from me, like how different your draft looked from the first draft and the final draft?
Okay. Okay, let's start with the drafts that I sent you. I know the drafts I sent you had some, what do you call it? Because my Word, for some reason, wasn't working properly. And so I remember you making a comment on, oh, adjusting the font and making everything look good. So I sent it to someone else, one of my friends, to pretty much edit it because for some reason my Word document wasn't responding as I wanted it to. And because you sent me back the edits the day before I think, yeah, the day before I submitted. And so I made the very last minute adjustment.
Okay.
I had put, you uploaded a copy of your petition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I pretty much put your petition on a Word document, opened it, divided my screen into two, opened your petition on one end, opened mine on the other end, and formatted it the same way. Because I was like, well, yours already worked. There's no need to reinvent the wheel.
Yes, that's true. And that's the reason I have put it there. There's no need to.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Let's make this easy on myself. And I guess to anyone else that watches this video, look at what he uploaded.
So in terms of the content, the first draft and the final draft probably were exactly the same, but maybe it was the organization which.
The organization, yeah, that was different. Because for EB2, you have to meet 3 of 6 criteria.
Yeah.
Yes, and so I went to USCIS website and I opened that link that has the website, and I thought to myself, okay, which one exactly do I meet, and which ones don't I meet 100%? And so for the ones that I met 100%, I put them on top. For the ones that I did not meet 100%, I still put them, but I think I worded it in a way where I said I meet at least 3 of the criteria. And so I put the first 3 that I met 100% and the others that I did not fully meet, but I know, okay, this is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put them as,
So how many criteria did you total put for?
I think I put 5.
Okay, that's a pretty reasonable number.
Yeah, exactly.
So once your letter was ready, like what other documents did you have to submit, and how was that process, figuring out the rest of the documents and collecting all the evidence and all that?
Okay, so once my I guess my petition, my letter was ready, what else did I submit? I know I submitted my degrees, my CV, my recommendation letters, and the CV of my recommenders. I submitted evidence supporting past track achievements and impact in my field. I submitted evidence of my publications. I submitted a printout of my Google Scholar publication. So I went on Google Scholar, typed my name in, and printed out that page of what you see. I did the same thing with my ResearchGate profile. I submitted evidence of me judging the skills of others. I submitted demand for my skills and expertise because I had interviewed for 2 lecturing positions after I graduated from my master's before my PhD started. So I had proof of that. I had proof of recruiters reaching out to me on LinkedIn, on Handshake, and other interviews that I had. I submitted all of them. I submitted a document pertaining to my non-immigrant status. So every page on my passport, I printed it out and I submitted that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
all the forms you have to submit, the form I-140 and the other forms you listed to include in your application. I submitted all that, the labor form. Yeah.
And how long did it take you to assemble all that? So just the facts and all that.
I honestly think that was the most stressful part. Yeah. I printed at least 500 pages. of
Yeah, yeah.
of documents. I did, yeah, I easily at least 500 pages. So I think that was honestly the most stressful part. Printing them out, finding one error, and having to print it again. That was really the most stressful part. That took at least, I would say, 2 weeks of just living in the library.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I remember too. It takes a long time. I think I did this over the COVID, COVID lockdowns, and I had to
Oh,
like go all alone and do this all over. So it's very hard because every
yeah.
time you forget something, you have to go back and start with the building. Not the building were not open all the time. So yeah, it's a stressful part. So you said about like you had 500 pages, and how did you like organize it? Did you have any special idea?
Your video, your video.
Okay,
I
okay.
can I can say that I watched that video at least 30 times
Oh my God.
on speed, on 0.75, on 1.25, on 1 point. I watched that video in and out, back to front, front to back. I watched that video. Said, okay, what did he say to put here? Good, I put it. What did he say to do here? Your video.
Okay, okay. So, well, I hope that's great that my video.
It really helped.
So, do you remember the date on which you sent out this document? Like, when did you postmark it?
Okay, so I remember, because I'm still a student, I had biostats class that Thursday at 4, and I put it together I finished putting it together in the library at, I think, 2:30. And I'm Christian, so I sat down and I prayed. This was September 29th.
Yeah.
September 29th. And I Googled FedEx near me. The FedEx closest to me was like a 20 minutes walk. So I just walked there and I posted it. And you know how FedEx gives you rates on, if you want it next day shipping, it's $100 and something. And it was a Thursday, and I specifically requested for it to be sent on Tuesday the next week because that was the cheapest date. And I thought, okay, I can breathe between Thursday and Tuesday, knowing that my application is still with FedEx. Now tell me why on Friday the next day, I get an email saying they have gotten my application.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they got my application on the 30th of September.
Oh, wow. That's great. So FedEx didn't charge you enough money, and it's still, well, God
Exactly.
works. You pray to God.
I did.
Actually, I kind of remember the same because again, as I said, this was during COVID. So I made my application, I labeled it, everything. I put it in a piece of package and in a big envelope, and I drove all the way to because I think I sent it on a Saturday, and the USPS offices were all closed. There was only one office open, long far away. So I
Yeah,
drove there because I wanted to do it that day.
that day.
Then I got the tickets and everything, and I had thought about, like, after I put the label, I'll take a picture to show it to everyone.
Yeah.
Then I was like, I got this thing, I was so stressed, and I prayed to God, and like, please, make this happen. And I gave it to the person, and the person actually asked, oh, so do you want me to send it now? And I just didn't I didn't want to ask her for a picture again, and I said, okay, yeah, just send it out.
Listen. Just
Like, once it's out of my hand, just let it go. I don't
let
want it to come back. And
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
it-
I can, I relate to the stress sometimes, and you really pray to God that, hey,
oh, I because I remember going back to my biostats class that day, and I kept saying, should I go back and pick up my package? Is it ready? Should I go back?
okay, so you were like, yeah, I mean, because even if you're confident, when you make the package and everything, and when you're actually sending it, it's it is a little bit stressful.
It's
One
a
question that I forgot to ask you, maybe just like quick comment. Did you ever thought of, I'm doing it myself, should I hire a lawyer or should I not hire a lawyer or anything like that?
I did think about it,
Hmm.
right? But I'm a student. Lawyer fees are not cheap.
Hmm.
And I thought, okay, I don't think anyone can tell my story as well as I will. That was my thought process, other than the fact that lawyer fees are not cheap. Because I ran into people that said, oh, pay me $3,000 and I would do it for you. And I was like, I would rather pay for premium processing with that and know that in 45 days, this is out of my head.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was one of the major reasons I did it myself, because I don't think anybody can tell my story as much as I would.
Yeah, or as well,
As well as I would, yes. Or
yeah.
as well. Very
Yeah, I
important.
think that's a very important point because like that was one of the things that I realized too. And of course, as you said, you had written so many papers. I thought like, I'm a PhD, I have written
You
thesis. Like how can someone, how can I not write my own
write
story?
this yourself, yeah. Because if you really think about it, everybody in our shoes applying for this either has a master's or a PhD from an American university. You've probably been, involved in extensive research work. So if you can write all of that, this should be easy for you because it's
Yeah,
your story, it's your life.
yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
and you have applied, for jobs, you have applied for
Jobs, for PhDs, you've written lots of
exactly.
personal
You have,
statements.
yeah. And
Yeah,
all that experience helps. So that's great.
it
So
does.
you sent it out as you said, or maybe you got the receipt for September 30th, and you did
Yeah,
premium processing.
I
Um,
did premium processing. And so I got the email October 25th. So yeah, exactly a month, I believe. No, it was from USCIS on September 30th that they have gotten my application. Premium processing, I know they tell you, okay, so when I got that email from USCIS, they said I should hear back from them within 45 days or 45 business days. Yes. And so I heard back from them in about 29 days.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I applied for premium processing, it was only 15 days. So maybe things have changed. Now it's
Okay. Yeah.
okay. And how did you deal with those 25 or 25 days?
Remember, I thought I was going to rest till Tuesday of the next week. And so that weekend, I was riddled with anxiety. I will tell you that. I was riddled with anxiety. Every email I got, my heartbeat went up at least 50 times over.
Okay.
But I think after the first week, I was fine because, again, school was doing what school does, stressing me out. And
Yeah.
I think that even made it easier because I had a lot of other things to focus on. And after like a week, yeah, I was settled in. And the day that I got the email from USCIS, I was actually the approval notice. I was in a Zoom meeting with my advisor
Mhm.
when the email came in. And she was talking, and I saw the email pop up and I opened it. I don't even remember what she was saying anymore because I just started crying. I was so happy. In the middle of the meeting, I was jumping. I did not care.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I said, oh, I just got an email for, something I applied for, and it's good news. And she gave me the day off.
Oh wow, that's good of her.
Yeah.
That's great of her. Yeah, that's so nice. Um, okay, and you had like in these two periods, like there was no like they didn't ask for any other documentation or any other
No,
emails.
I did not get any RFEs, no.
Okay, that's great. So you got it on 25th, and then I think like you messaged me right away that oh
I
like
did. Yes, I did.
yeah, it was, and I was so happy because I think like you are probably the second person who has informed me that they used, the resource I provided, and it had been successful.
Yeah.
So I was so happy to hear about it. Like, to oh my, somebody got it, and actually I have been working on a few people who have sent me their letters, but you are the first person on letter. I looked at, I gave some review. So I was like, somehow involved who got it approved. So I'm so happy about that. Um, One thing that I would like to ask, I think I forgot. You said that you made some changes on the very last day. Uh, like what were those changes? And do you think like it would have really mattered making those changes or not?
No, no. I think the change I made was putting something on top,
Mhm.
like at the beginning of the letter rather than in the middle.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
something like that.
yeah, you highlighted something.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I took
I also
everything
remember
off
this
in the
because
petition.
yeah, with my application, I was only going to put like 4 or 5 criterias, and on the very last day, I realized that I have got some research funding, right? And they were actually named award. So then the research, NIH or NSF
Yeah.
fund. This was named an award. So the title had an award at the end. And I realized on the very last day that, oh, this is a national level award or international level award. So I put that in on the very last day, and I think that's something I had not thought of, and I put it on the very last day. So
That's, oh,
yeah, even like last minute changes, can sometimes help.
and
Um,
sometimes, yeah, because you really never know.
yeah, and once you have like there's no harm giving more evidence, unless like don't put something which is not of very much significance. But if you think if even if it is reasonably significant, there's no harm putting more
Yeah.
evidence than less. Okay, so can you just tell us now that have a you have got the I-140 approval. Can you just list us very briefly what were the different resources you used in your application process?
Okay. So the first thing I would say was the actual USCIS website, because there's a lot of information out there that you have to sift through. And so I decided to stick to whatever the website said and not what like other websites were saying. So that was my number one resource, and your video.
Mhm.
Yes,
Anything?
those were the two things that I had. Your
Okay.
video and USCIS website.
Okay, and like not like any previous. I guess that was from my video.
Yeah,
The letter, and the like the form and all that. I guess you were.
exactly. Exactly. Because I did not speak to any lawyers or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like just I mean I think I have provided enough materials, and if you
Yeah,
just follow the USCIS guidelines, you don't actually need anything else. That's
no,
yeah.
your videos were very detailed, and how you arrange them on your Google Drive. And I have sent that ever since I got my approval. I have sent your video to I think 4 people.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
because you know how news travels really fast, and
Yeah.
somebody tells somebody, and they email me or message me, and they're like, oh yeah, so what should I? I'm just like, this is the link for this labor form, this form, that form. I think one thing that I had trouble with was the labor form, and I'm so glad that you uploaded that video and you had that.
Oh,
Because you know,
the new labor form, right?
yeah, the new labor form, it had changed from the previous one to the one that now has 3 different forms.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, glad that it helped. Okay, so now, like, do you have any tips or advice for people who want to apply for I-140?
There is no harm in trying. That is what I would tell you. If
Mm-hmm.
you, I know 2,500 is a lot of money to apply for premium processing, but I wanted to do that because I did not want policies to change, especially
Mm-hmm.
with elections coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted this time to be beneficial to me. And so I decided to go for premium processing. But if you're on H1B like you were, I think, doing your PhD, because I'm a first year PhD student, and I don't think a lot of people know that you can do this as a first year PhD. Most people usually wait till their third or fourth year or right after they finish their PhD. But you realize you already have a master's degree if you're applying for a PhD, which is in itself an advanced degree. And so use that to your advantage.
Yeah, yeah. I think like I myself, I waited a long time. I finished my PhD, then I did postdocs, And sometimes, I realize that I could have done this long time ago.
Long time ago, yeah.
A lot of stress that goes through, even though you have a job. I had job at good places, and they were very nice employers. But but the thing is, you don't have to be dependent on them, right? And then it opens so many new doors for you if you get
It
this.
does. It
So I
does.
think, and as you said, there's no like no risk, no harm. Like if it gets rejected, okay, that's okay. You can try
That's
again.
okay, you can try again. But
Uh,
until you try, you never know. And I think 700 is a good risk to take
yeah, yeah.
for something as important as this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, 700 or like whatever, how much of ever money, 2,500. Actually,
Yeah.
one of the things that happened to me is I was actually first trying. I was so not confident of myself that I first made an EB2-NIW package, and I
Yeah.
was ready to send it out. And before sending it out, I called my friend and said, "Hey, I'm sending this." And he basically said, why don't you just send an EB1 package? And it's a matter of like what, $3,000, right? But in
Yeah.
2 weeks, you would know, you would not have to wait,
Just take it. Yeah.
especially for people from India, like EB2 can take 10 years. So I was like, oh,
Really?
that's a good suggestion, because it's just a matter of $3,000. Like, if I get my green card and I get a new job, I can make that money
$3,000
in a
means
month.
nothing. Yeah, it means nothing again.
It means nothing. Once you're free, you can do anything you want. So that was a very good,
Yeah.
the very good suggestion that you're saying. Like, there's no harm trying, and you would
There's
never know unless you have tried. And I know people like whose first petition has got rejected, and they went again, and the second time they got it. So sometimes, like, you just, even if it gets rejected, you learn something from that process, and
true. True.
and you apply. Yeah, it costs money, but again,
It's
if you
worth
get
it.
that money is totally worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
And
Because
especially if you're doing yourself, because if you hire a lawyer, that will cost you 20,000 right?
easily,
And
easily.
but if you're doing it yourself, you're not spending that much money, right? If hiring
No.
a lawyer, people spend way more money to get rejected. So one can actually do this. So now that I think I've taken a lot of time for you. So what are the next steps? What is the planning to do now?
Okay. I'm currently working on my adjustment of status application. I was able to see because I got my approval notice in the mail already. And
Mhm,
so I went to one of the USIS approved doctors for my medicals. I already have that. I got that on Thursday. And
mhm.
so I'm currently working on my adjustment of status application, and I should ship that off by tomorrow, I believe.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
great.
Because
And
even right now, I'm getting people saying, "Oh, you should just wait till it's current," and I I will send my application tomorrow.
yeah, why not? Just send it out, and
Yeah.
hopefully it will come faster. And
Yes, exactly.
there's no point sitting on it. So yeah, just
No,
send it.
yeah. There's no
Do you
point
know
sitting.
what your priority date is right now? Now, like, is there anything else you want to say after all this process?
Well, I am just grateful that this worked out,
Yeah.
really. And I think that anybody listening to this, especially those in the medical and healthcare field, if this is something that you've thought of, please do it. Because I know for doctors, because I could have applied for my medical residency, but like I said, when you go that pathway, you are on J1, and it's really hard to get out of J1
Mm-hmm.
to green card. And I did not want to do that if I could avoid it. And so I'm glad that this worked out the way it did. Because with J1, I think for doctors, you have to work for how long? After your medical residency, which takes however long it takes, depending on your specialty, you either go back to your home country for 3 years
Yeah.
or work in an underserved community in the US.
Mm-hmm.
also the application process for residency with wanting a visa, a work visa, the J1 visa. There's not a lot of hospitals that take people that need that. And instead of restricting yourself to the very little pool there is when you can apply to pretty much any hospital when you get this, why would you subject yourself to, to that if you can avoid it?
Yeah.
And so do that. Do this if you can. I think that's the take home, I think, for anyone that's in the medical field that I have for them.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks for sharing all this information, and your experience. I think it was good to know that what I felt, you felt similar. And I hope like people understand that, yeah, you will be stressed. It's a stressful process, but it's just a part of the process, right?
Yeah.
So
And I promise you, when it gets approved, you would not even remember the stress.
yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
you would not remember the stress. I don't remember the sleepless nights I had.
Yeah. For me, uh, I think at that time it was only 15 days. They had to make a decision within 15 days. And for me, the first 8, 10 days went totally fine. But the last 2, 3 days, I was so stressed. But like, okay, is the rejection coming now? Because it has been and I think I heard on the maybe 12th or 13th day. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's really great. I heard in like a month. And the good thing for me was I had school to distract me.
yeah.
Yes. I stress a lot.
Yeah, everybody does. Everybody
Yeah.
does.
Okay, I had school to distract me in a good way.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. That after you send out your application, yes, of course you will be stressed, and you'll be checking your email all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
but it's good to like find ways where you can channel your
I
stress.
know that stress too.
Like
Yeah,
either it's work, it's family, something. Just channel like try to keep your brain, distracted by something else, or maybe engaged in something more productive, because the
true.
stressing part is not going to help. It will happen when it will happen.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because
okay.
now I make a joke that if this PhD stresses me out too much, I'm leaving. Because I can afford
Yeah, of course. That's
to
actually a
do that
very,
now.
yeah, no, it's a very important point. Like when I was working, I was in this job, and the job was very stressful. The job is very, very stressful. And but I was stuck to it. And I know right now in my current position that there are several of my friends or colleagues who
Yeah.
are very stressed, or some of them, they have their families, and the families are in 2 different cities,
Mm-hmm.
because of the work situation, and they
Yeah.
cannot quit their job, because like what else would they do? They will be, they'll be kicked out of the country. So once you get your green card, um, at least you have that strength with you, that okay, if I don't like my situation, I am going to change it. I'm
Yeah,
not.
you can actually do something about it then.
Exactly, yeah. And you have that confidence, that oh, I can do anything I want. I know one of my friend, again, like he lives actually very close to where I live, and he was in a very, very stressful situation, working again, husband and wife at 2 different places, and he hated his job. And actually, once he got his green card, the next day he went and he said, "I quit." So you get that confidence, like okay, I will do something. I'll work. It will work out. You can even
Exactly.
you can even be without a job for a couple of months. Come on, you have
You
proper.
have this, you can relax, you can breathe. Because the journey from B1 to F1 to getting here, you can only imagine. I'm sure you've gone through that yourself. Because, first of all, I'm Nigerian. The rate at which we're denied visas is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Even when you've had visas back to back, every time you're scared, you're terrified. That's it's a very stressful feeling. It's a very stressful phase where you're wondering what happens if I get denied? What happens if I get denied? I remember my F1 visa, I had to go to Mexico to get it. I couldn't go back home.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I had to go to Mexico to get that. And I had to get a Mexican visa first. travel
Yeah.
to Mexico. I remember they just kept me in a room
Thank you.
for hours. My connecting flight was about to leave. Just very stressful situations that you find yourself in that you can avoid. And
Yeah.
because I had to leave my entire life back in the US, and the question of what if you don't get your visa? What happens? Are you stuck in Mexico? Can you go back home? Can you come back in the US? All these things. And I remember when I finally called my dad that day to tell him the news, and his first response was, "So no more visa stress." I was like, "Yes, Daddy, no more visa stress."
So your family is are they back in Nigeria?
Everybody is back in Nigeria. Yes, I'm here by myself.
And they must be very happy about it too, that you got.
They are.
And you can go back and travel and meet them, and it's much easier now, right?
It's a lot easier. I left home when I was 15, 16.
Hmm.
Yeah. And went to the Caribbean for pre-med, med school, came here. I really haven't been back home.
Yeah. So how long have you not seen your family then?
I haven't seen them in 10 years.
Oh my God. Are you planning to travel or?
The moment that card gets mailed to my apartment, I'm off.
Yeah, and we hope it comes soon. So you send your application
Yes,
tomorrow. My
yes.
experience is that it will be less than 6 months, maybe like 3 to 4 months. You'll get your green card. I really hope that once you get your green card, after maybe you have traveled to Nigeria, whenever you get a chance, please come back, and update us how how you got
Oh,
your green card and
no
and how
problem.
you feel
No,
after that. Okay.
no problem. I would be honored to.